Oh crikey, what have I done? I can finally share some big news with you. Well, massive news for me personally. I'm about to attempt the longest bike ride I've ever done. It's 800 kilometers, so about 500 miles, in an event called Badlands, a unsupported off-road bikepacking race around southern Spain this weekend. And I'd never done anything like it before. It's so far outside my comfort zone. I'm equal parts nervous and excited. The longest I've ridden in one day that I can remember is about 360 kilometers, so a long way shy of that 800 target. And decades ago, when 24-hour mountain bike racing was popular in the UK, I tried and failed some solo attempts at that 24-hour discipline. So I have some experience of long rides and riding through the night, but this is way outside anything I've experienced before. And I'm no stranger to crazy bike events and riding a long way, but this is something else. My reasons for doing this are numerous. I've had a tough personal life for the last year or so, and I want to set myself a new challenge and really push myself outside of my comfort zone and do something I've never done before. And because these ultra distance bikepacking events are really popular right now, and I'm keen to scratch an itch and see what they're all about, and I'm not getting younger, so do it while I still can. So over the last few months, I've been quietly training, getting some big miles in, and also some short, high tempo stuff too, and also watching what I eat and trying to get my weight down as much as possible, which is always a challenge. And I built my bike, a 51 Assassin, but I'll share details of the build and the equipment choices in a video dropping tomorrow. So make sure you come back tomorrow to watch that. But to get more of an insight into Badlands and some advice and tips on how to not just survive, but hopefully enjoy an event like this, I'm joined in today's video by Chris Hall, who some of you might know. He's no stranger to ultra distance bikepacking events and has done Badlands 5 times before, so a good person to find out what the event is all about and get some last minute panic advice before I head out in a few days' time. So hopefully if you're doing Badlands or an event like this, or you may be thinking about something like this, what Chris has to say might be of interest to you. And if you have done Badlands or you are doing it, drop a comment down below. But right now, let's hear from Chris.
So, Chris, Badlands, can you explain what it is? What am I looking forward to with this event? So, Badlands is I will say 800 to 900 kilometer self-supported gravel race that takes on sort of like the southern areas of Spain, starting in Granada and then heading up into like some of the big deserts around Spain. It's a part of Spain where the only deserts are in Europe, classified as a desert. So you will be hitting a lot of very warm places, relatively isolated. I say relatively isolated because there's probably one stretch which is, I reckon, maybe 100 to 150 kilometers, depending on how it's routed, where there's not a lot of stuff. But there are places where you can get water. You just don't come across a town for quite a while. But you do generally have a pretty consistent flow of places for resupplying water, food, etc., etc. But it's off-road, gravel, definitely. In my opinion, you need to be running at least a 45mm tire minimum. And I would say you want the easiest possible gear you can put on your bike in terms of some of the climbs are pretty punchy. There's like one quite early on into the race where I've ridden it twice, I've walked it twice, and I don't really know what's faster, to be honest with you. I don't think there's much in it.
Because it's steep or rocky or
super steep, concrete slabbed. You basically, you sort of descend down a road and then you take this right-hand turn, go into some gravel, come back up a little bit, and then you're on this super, super narrow single car width road. Really, and it kind of almost does this.
Okay.
Because of it's all concrete slab, and that's the central channel is for where the water to run through. Cars can go up it, but it's tight, and it starts in like a bit of a valley, and then opens up into basically your entrance into the Garrafe Desert. So it's quite a spectacular point when you get to the top of it, but it is savage, and I think it's maybe in the first 160k or so of the ride. But it's the first one where you go, great, This is the way that we're going. This is going to be a punchy one. I think I did it one year on a drop bar hardtail, and I had like a 3450 on it. Like that was my easiest gear, and that got up it, but it was still hard. Like it was still hard. And this year, I think I'm running 40, whatever SRAM's biggest one is, 51. I don't know.
Yeah, 51, 52.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I'm running this year. Just purely, I've run out of time to get a smaller chainring, to be honest with you.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. As the countdown is imminent, it's my first time doing any event like this. I've done like crazy bike rides, but I've never done a 800-kilometer unsupported event. And as we get closer, I'm getting more nervous. Should I be nervous? Should I be scared? Should I be excited? About
You
this
should be
event?
excited. Genuinely, there's I think there's a lot of people that only perceive Badlands as this like really full on 800 odd kilometer race, but actually it's so much more than that. There's a reason why I go back every year, and I think there's an incredible community around it. That's not just the organizers and not just the people taking part. That's the locals in the towns and villages you go through, and those experiences that you will have with people are way more, in my opinion. There's other people who would argue this isn't right, but in my opinion, those experiences are so much more valuable than the race itself. And in reality, the only, like, if you're going to race it, if you think you're going to get a top 10, by all means go for it. But to me, like, if you don't think you're going to get a top 10, like, actually try and enjoy the experience, especially if it's your first go. Like, the scenery is incredible, the landscape is just like mind-blowing at parts, but the big thing is the community around it. And I've been very lucky to have done many ultras over the last 10 years all around the world, and I think what Badlands does is create this incredible community that some of the other races and events don't have in the same way, I would say.
Okay, that sounds amazing. I have no aspiration for a top 10. And I mean, I know it's a race. I'm not going to race it. I want to test myself, but ultimately I want to finish. And
Yeah.
I'm a bit worried about finishing this because it's so far outside my comfort zone, especially with the sort of 150 kilometers with no water, no town. So that does terrify me. What sort of advice can you give to somebody doing their first ultra like myself or somebody else watching to get around in one piece and enjoy it and not destroy yourself in a desert somewhere?
My first thing to say would be, first of all, remember there is a time limit, and that time limit is nearly a week. So you break down that 800, I think the time limit is Friday evening.
Yep.
It changes slightly every year, but I think it's roughly Friday evening, and we start on the Sunday morning. So if you break that down, it's like 120 kilometers a day,
Oh, okay.
maybe 130 kilometers a day. So it suddenly starts to feel much more manageable. That's my really try and understand that actually it doesn't really matter what position you come in if a finish is success in one of these events. And I personally think even committing to try and start it is a success because you've committed to that training, that preparation. You put yourself out there to try and do something you've never done before, and that's incredible. So like, if your aim is to finish, remember that you've got a lot longer than you potentially would need to finish. So like, don't put yourself in a hole on the first day. Like, just ride yourself into it. I think that's a problem a lot of people have. And having done this would be the 5th year. Like, people proper race out of Granada, and I'm always just like, what are you doing? Like, it's a climb out of the city. I will be, and people can vouch for this because they've seen this, I'm the last person to start, because I don't want to get involved in all of the willy waggling and stuff. So I will start last and just allow myself to ride into it and end up wherever I end up. And that, I think people often forget that, like, you're burning matches very early on, and you don't need to. You really don't need to. So that's one thing, is really do take your time, be on time, aim for the finish, but just take your time and enjoy the moment. My second big thing is to make sure you take loads of salt tablets, like just tons. The first year I did it in the desert, it was like 40, mid 40s. The temperatures were.
Yikes.
And that year I think the first edition I did was the hardest edition, having done all of them since. I think they have evolved the route in a way which is very positive, in a very good way. But also the conditions that year were really, really tough. But then, like, for example, last year, the temperatures were sort of mid to low, well, I'd say low 30s. but it was incredibly humid, which was quite weird. And I got heat stroke last year, so it wasn't particularly fun. But it was unusually humid. So the big thing is like making sure you're taking on a lot of water, a lot of salts, because a lot of people just go down the route of drinking loads of water and they don't then replenish the electrolytes. That's the important thing, to make sure you're replenishing those. So I'd highly, highly recommend doing that. I would also say get the biggest, brightest front light you possibly can on your bike, because you will end up riding in the dark, and some of those trails they're not. I wouldn't say there's anything any worse than Gralloch, really.
Okay.
In term, there's a few bits maybe, but nothing that, you know how Gralloch is quite rough.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst you're going to get, in my opinion, in terms of
Okay.
the terrain. It's not. I mean, obviously, I don't know for sure because they've changed the route again, but it's nothing crazy, crazy like sketchy. But I would just be, make sure you've got a really good bright front light and potentially a head torch as well. I really like a head torch because it moves when you move your head.
Yeah.
It's just really nice to have that flexibility with it. Um, so like I don't think I'm going to run a dynamo this year, but I am going to run. Well, I don't think I'm going to run a dynamo light, but I'm going to run a dynamo hub purely for charging stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not going to use it for charging a light so much. It's just nice to have it because I can.
Yeah.
And I would also. Are you planning to sort of sleep out? We're
Um,
just going to see how it goes.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I wasn't. That's what I was hoping to get from you. Like, do I need a strategy? Do I need to plan to sleep? Do I ride through a night? I guess it depends on, like, the quick people. They're not sleeping either. They're riding through a night.
No.
If you're taking a week, you're gonna be sleeping wherever. Are you sleeping in the side of the road with a bivvy, or are you sleeping in a hotel or a
Depends on the.
B&B?
I've always tried to plan it a bit like on the road and as it
Okay.
goes. I've always taken a bivvy. Generally speaking, it's quite warm at night, but I've been caught out. One year I got caught out and just took too little stuff for
Okay.
sleeping outside at night, and I was freezing in the evenings. Um, a lot of it is in the desert. The temperatures do go down quite severely in the when it is cold in the evenings. But I've always taken like a bivvy, a down jacket, and then down pants, which
Okay.
is instead of a sleeping bag, just down pants, and then normally like a slightly thicker pair of socks. And then they just sleep in that normally because the down pants, they compress really small,
Yeah.
much smaller than a sleeping bag would. I might take like a silk liner or something just as an extra layer, but I won't. I don't go crazy with the sleeping setup. Definitely take an air mat if you are planning to sleep outside because the ground is rocky and rough
Yeah.
generally. But my stance has always been like have a minimal sleep setup, and if you come across hotels and it kind of works timing wise, what's the harm in doing it? Like I've actually done, in the editions I've done everything from sleeping out every single night to almost getting a hotel almost every single night. And I think people get a bit stuck in their head that getting a hotel is bad, but actually I would argue that it's very, very good in terms of recovery,
Right.
and it reduces the admin down quite considerably because you can get into the hotel, you can shower, you can wash your kit, you can go to bed. If you're sleeping out, you're probably going to be trying to clean yourself with baby wipes as best you can. You're probably going to end up getting into dirty kit again. Um, and the faff of like taking everything out, setting your bivy bag up, pumping up the air mat, whatever it is, it's all additional admin and faff that you have to do before and after. Having done it from sleeping out every night to basically in a hotel every night, bar one night. I think the difference in terms of time was the hotel one for me personally was like a day and a half quicker.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just better sleep.
Yeah.
Um, but everyone's different on that sense. Like for me, I know I need to try and get 4 hours. If I don't, I'm just useless. I just don't function. Like can't talk, don't really make any sense, really weak. So like I've always tried to make sure I sort of try and mix it up a bit between getting good sleep and between trying to be fast. So I don't think you need a strategy as such, but I think you need to understand that there's the ability to be flexible with it. In terms of booking, I've always just booked it literally while I'm riding. Just use booking.com. You can find
Okay.
stuff pretty regularly, and there's nothing that says you can't go off track a bit as long as you join back onto the track. It's absolutely fine.
Okay. It sounds like being reasonably flexible, having a minimal kind of sleeping kit just in case, but not being against a hotel if there's one in a convenient point in your
Yeah, exactly.
race. Okay.
The other thing that I've learned over the years is like I've always like set myself this little rule internally that I will ride until I make 3 mistakes. And what I class as mistakes is like, I might slip a bit, have to unclip, like just take a really bad line and almost skid out, like those kind of things. And I've had this rule for well, since I did the first edition of Atlas Mountains, I think it was, because that when I did the first edition of Atlas Mountains, I was riding well. I was strong. I was doing really, really well. I was could probably do like a top 10, top 20 place, which was pretty damn good. And I was riding through the night quite a lot. And then I made like a series of stupid mistakes and had a really bad crash, slipped a disc in my back, cracked a wheel, and that was it. As race over. So
Right.
actually, in reality, it was silly mistakes where I was pushing myself too far because I was too tired. So I've had this rule of just like 3 mistakes and then that's call it quits, and I've stuck with that for 5-6 years now, and it's not done me wrong so far. So it's like allow your ego to kind of go, okay, I probably do need to sleep now. I probably do need a break, and just accept that that's the right thing to do is really important. Like I said earlier, the aim is to finish, it's not to win at the end of the day, right?
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
So,
Yeah, that's really good advice. I'm going to use that myself. I know I don't function without sleep at all. I used to do 24-hour mountain bike races back in the day, and I was terrible in the night. So I'm not going to I'm not going to be a hero and ride through the night. I'm going to
there's no
be
point.
sensible.
You get a lot of people who will ride through the night, and I think it's quite a good thing to try and experience, but also it absolutely ruins you for the next day.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of people forget, is they think they're going to gain loads of time and everything by riding through the night. But in reality, you're probably going to lose so much of that the next day because you're going to be so sluggish, so slow. You're probably going to stop a lot more as well. So I think it's important to kind of remember that actually, unless you're going there to try and win it, you really should be looking after yourself and getting sleep. Like riding 200K is a day or whatever is flipping far. Like, I don't care what anyone says. That's a big day out. Riding 100, the moment you get into double digits is a big day out, right? Doesn't matter if it's 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, whatever it is. And there's so many people that will be doing this event. You'll see it when you get out to Granada that have never done anything like this. You know, very nervous, very sort of overwhelmed by everything that's happening, and that's absolutely fine. But their goal is to finish, and that might mean that they finish on Friday, and that's absolutely fine. Like that's perfectly acceptable to finish on Friday. Like I think what also a lot of people forget is that no one probably remembers outside of the first place.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't tell you came second last year.
Yeah.
Like that's quite bad, isn't it? Like I couldn't tell you came second most years, to be honest with you. I could remember who came first every year in the men's and women's fields, but I couldn't tell you came second. So like everyone gets the same thing at the finish. You get the same plaque. Like it's the same thing. Like it doesn't matter if you come first or 100th place or 200th place or whatever it is. It's exactly the same thing. And finishing is a success. It really is.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, no, yeah, finishing is definitely my number one goal, and everything else will take care of itself. In terms of your bike, I mean, we'll see your bike out there in a few weeks' time ahead of the event. I guess big tires, small gears, and you're using a drop bar bike, suspension. You're taking some bags, tail fin, all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. So it's just a very lightweight sort of bike pack setup, not extreme.
Yeah, I've been sort of looking into what I'm going to do at the moment. So it's Argon 18's Dark Matter with the Fox suspension fork, the same bike that I had at Gralloch.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah.
I have changed it a little bit, so I have put the AR bars on it because I just find them a bit more comfortable as opposed
Is that
to
the
the
one
gravel
piece?
bars. No, it's not the one piece
Two-piece,
one.
okay.
It's we'll find out. I'm going down to Saddleback on Thursday, so I might do
Okay.
do some begging. But it's at the moment it's the AR bars with the in route stem. I
Yes.
changed. I had a set of AR bars, so I swapped them over from the round gravel bars. I prefer the flat top. I just find it more comfortable. I've got the Fox first 2TC. I'm looking at it, by the way. It's opposite.
Okay, behind camera.
32TC gravel forks with 50mm travel. I've done it before on a drop bar hardtail with 120mm travel. You do not need 120mm travel.
Too much. Okay.
It's way too much. The 50mm travel is actually probably pretty spot on for it, actually. Group set is SRAM red meets XXSL combination. So XXSL rear mech with the biggest cassette there, the new red shifters, and a red chain ring, but a sturdy crank because it's bougie.
Okay.
Uh,
Very
and
fancy.
Tom's a good friend, and he was like, "Do you want a crank for that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love a crank for it." Wheels, I'm changing though. So at Gralloch, I was running a set of At Gralloch, I was running some NV 3.4s.
Yes.
So I'm actually going to be running a set of M5 Pros. So they're
Mountain
mountain
wheels.
bike rim.
Okay.
Um, and the front one is being built up with one of the new Son Dynamo hubs, which
Yes.
I've not used it. I just want to test it out. So I've got one, I bought one, and I'd like to test it out. So we're building the front up with that. And the rear one will probably have an MV or a Chris King hub on it. I'm not too sure yet.
Nice.
But the reason why I want to use the M5 Pro as a base rim is because it's a super light rim. Should be pretty easy to service in case something goes wrong. It's got external nipples. A lot of the road wheel sets have internal nipples, so it can be a bit more tricky. And everyone has told me they're absolutely bomb proof. So like, I'm the sort of person that will descend like an idiot. So I need something that allows me to descend like an idiot.
Okay.
The tires I'll be using will be Schwalbers. I think I'm going to run a G1 RX on the front and the back.
Okay.
Which is a bit more grippy tire. And I think I'm otherwise going to run a 50 or a 55. I'm going to see how I'm going to see what the clearance looks like on the 55.
Are you running inserts in the tires or just sealant?
Silka sealant, no inserts. I've never used inserts, and I've found that the Silka sealant seems to be the one that, well, from my experience, seems to be the best one I've used, to be honest with you. I'll take a couple of inner tubes and I'll take some spare sealant as well. But like, where I'd say I take some spare sealant, I'm going to take like a tiny little pot of it. The big one as well, the other big one actually to say is make sure you take whatever is your preferred chain lube, make sure you take quite a lot because it's so dusty and dry, you'll need to reapply loads. And so many people in previous years have not made that decision of taking some. Like I normally wax a chain anyway and then take some chain lube anyway and then just keep reapplying it every day because it just gets to a point when they get really noisy. A lot of people have made that mistake of not doing it, so I'd definitely recommend taking some.
In your 5 years doing the event, have you had any mechanicals, or have you been lucky, touch wood, you not had any major issues?
I've not really had any. The biggest problem I had was heat stroke.
Okay. So the body let you down rather than the bike.
Which was the body letting me down. In terms of the bike, I think I snapped a light mount once.
Okay.
Hence, before we started recording, I was telling you straight away, I'm trying to figure out a solution for a light. That was a year I was running a dynamo light, and it was I can't remember the name of the brand now, but the light was very good, but the mount was rubbish. It was like a 3D printed thing, and it snapped in the ride. So I ended up just cable tying it onto the handlebars for like the remain. Like I probably still had I don't know 500k left to ride, so just cable tied it to the handlebars and was like, well, it's a solution. It is what it is. But it was quite annoying. I've not really had. I've been quite lucky actually. I've not really had any massive issues in terms of this event. I've definitely had big issues in other events, but this one's generally been relatively smooth sailing apart from heat stroke.
Okay. But given that's one thing that does worry me is my physical fitness and ability to survive, but also the bike. I touch wood, nothing goes wrong. But if I have a major mechanical, I need to be able to fix it myself. There's no support car. There's nobody coming out to no checkpoints. Is there? You need to be able to fix a tire gash or a broken chain or spokes. So you need to be fairly proficient and have enough tools, but not carry too much stuff.
Yeah, exactly. There's a fine line, isn't there, between having too much stuff and the extra weight that all the tools provide, and having enough to survive. Like if you broke a spoke, like in reality, what's going to be the easiest thing to do is probably just take the spoke out and just ride it and hope that the wheel survives. And then a tire gash, you could plug it, you could sew it, you could patch it with an old gel wrapper, for example. There's other solutions to that. We do this year go into Almeria, which was taken out last year. Admittedly, I think that's like 500k into the route. It's quite far into the route. So that's a big city. There's bike shops. There's loads of stuff there. So quite often, a lot of people who I've seen have problems in the past have sort of limped it to Almeria, gone to a bike shop, and then got it sorted, and then carried on. So there isn't really many other shops on the route. I mean, as I say, it changes every year, so I can't be certain, but not that I can think of apart from Almeria. it was. I didn't like that they took Almeria out last year, and I like that it's come back in because it's quite nice to have that reconnection with civilization. The negative is you've got the massive beach section back again,
Okay.
but the beach section is shorter than it has been since the first edition.
So actually riding on the beach.
Yeah, you ride on the beach. It's hilariously weird because you ride along on the beach and you just see like holiday goers, because Almeria is quite touristy. You just see all
Yeah.
these holiday goers in their swimwear, and you just these haggard cyclists covered in dust riding along next to it. It's really quite surreal. And then you ride through the town itself, or the city, I should say, and then it's just like it's quite touristy. But one of the good things about Almeria is there's lots of there's bike shops, there's lots of food places, there's hotels. Quite a lot of people go there and have a night in a hotel, try and time it to get a night in a hotel.
Okay.
And there's a Burger King, and that ends up becoming a highlight of the trip for so many people because I think it's open. It's not 24 hours, but it's open for a long time. My tip with Almeria would be that you've got that very long beach section going before it, which is it's a drag. It is a drag. It's not as bad as it has been in the past, but it is a drag. The section you do before the beach section is quite punchy, a bit rough. The climb is Cabadagata, I think it is. It's quite it's just a bit of a slog and a bit rough. You're in a few like little towns beforehand, and you've got this very rocky climb literally on the seafront, and it's quite steep into the rocks, and then you sort of descend down towards Almeria. It's just a bit of it's not a great climb, I would say, of the climbs of the event. It's beautiful, but it's hard. And then you come in towards Almeria, and the reason why it was taken out, I believe, last year was the climb out of Almeria was really rough, long, rough. I actually quite enjoy it. Weirdly, I don't know why. I quite liked it. It's got proper switchbacks on it. Rough gravel climb. I quite liked it. I think because you have to think about how you're going up it. Like you've got to find the line, and you've got to one side might be basically a mountain bike trail, and there's a little strip which you can ride on, which is more gravelly. And I quite enjoyed that. Is trying it because it kept my brain sharp. They took it out last year, I believe, because they were a lot of people complained about that climb. It'd been in every edition. So they removed it last year, and then the mayor of Almeria was like, what the hell, the race isn't coming through here anymore. And I think they are, as a constituency, a sponsor of the event now.
Okay.
And I was talking to David about it last year, and the mayor was like, oh, we'll resurface that climb. And so it might be resurfaced.
Oh,
Who
really?
knows? I would imagine that because it is a rocky gravel trail out of the city that does sort of connect up to a lovely tarmac road. So if it's been resurfaced, I would imagine they would probably just put some new gravel over the top of it. Maybe
Tarmac down, maybe.
I'd be very surprised if they tarmac it. It would take something away from it, but I'm intrigued to see what's happened with that one.
I look forward to
Definitely.
that. So it's clearly something about the event that keeps you going back. You've done it 5 times. There's clearly something about the event that you love. So
Yeah. It's, as I said, it's the route is spectacular. One of the biggest highlights, in my opinion, if you think you're going to pull out of the race, we're not going to, obviously, if things really don't go well, just make sure you get to Garafe. That's the one thing you need to do, because the views as you enter it's every year it takes my breath away. There's no landscape in Europe that I've ever seen like it before. I think you could argue that it has similar feels to Death Valley, maybe.
okay.
But it's just breathtaking because you come in quite high, and the landscape is just this. It looks like a ripple of sandy, mountainous, gravelly stuff, and it's mind-blowingly beautiful. And that's the bit when I entered the first time that really made me go, "Wow, God, that looks amazing! I want to ride through that." And then you've got a little town in the Garafe Loop. I'm pretty sure it's still in, called Villanueva de la Torres, which is this tiny, tiny town. And there's a bar as you sort of come into the town on the left-hand side. They'll have signs and stuff outside, but the people that run that bar are the nicest people in the world. And from the first time I did it, they were very overwhelmed and flustered by what the hell was going on with loads of cyclists coming through. And every year they've done a little bit more to sort of support the event.
Right.
And this is a town in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
in the middle of the desert. And I've got a friendship now with the owners of this bar. So every year I've gone there, I want a photo, have a hug,
A
all this.
table for you.
Yeah, well, to be fair, probably. But like from the first year where they didn't really know what was going on and were quite overwhelmed and flustered by it, to like last year where they have the tracking up on the screen, they have a table just full of sweets
I
and
love that.
crisps and snacks and stuff
Yeah,
that you can help yourself to, and then
cool.
they have loads of bocadillos and drinks ready to go, so you could go in there and buy a bocadillo and a drink for. I think it's like €3, €4, so nothing really. And they're all ready. So you just walk in, buy it, eat it, go. If you want to be that quick, or you could walk in, chill outside, and wait and hang around and stuff. Like there's lots of moments like that in the event, which is what makes it special to me. Is you go into these same places, you see the same faces, and they're just incredibly welcoming and incredibly friendly, and they really do look after you. And you'll get people that offer to like they'll offer you to stay in their house for the night and stuff like that. Like that does happen as well. In Gore, I think is where there's like which is I guess the town you come to after the Garaffe Loop. The people that are in Gore, they're like, oh yeah, come in, like you can come sleep on the floor, you can sleep in the ga- in the garage or whatever it is, or they've got a ball ring there and they open the ball ring up and you can go sleep in the ball ring, all this kind of stuff like that. Like there's so many interesting and quite cool things that come from it that the stories will make it such an amazing adventure.
Sound incredible. Well, Chris, I'm a bit less nervous now and a bit more excited about it. So yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be quite an experience, an adventure. So yeah, thanks for sharing some insights into the event, and well, I'll see you in
Off we go.
Granada in a few weeks' time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not long now. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, cool, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Cheers.